One of the oldest and most popular sites of pilgrimage in all of Europe is the Camino de Santiago, Santiago de Compostela. In English, the Way of St. James of Compostela in the northern Spain. I myself hope to be able to make that pilgrimage before I reach the age of 70 and before my legs get too wobbly to be able to make that pilgrimage at all. The Camino de Santiago de Compostela came to my mind as I reflected on today's first reading about the conversion of St. Paul on his way to Damascus. St. Luke tells us how God rerouted this man's life's journey. How from being Saul, the persecutor of the followers of the way, he became Paul, the propagator of the Christian faith. St. Luke tells us how Saul aggressively sought out men and women who belonged to the way, that he might bring them back to Jerusalem in chains. Followers of the way. Ito yung tawag sa mga sinaunang Kristiyano, especially in the first century. Ang mga sumusunod sa landas, followers of the way. We know, of course, what St. Luke means. He's not talking about a street or a road, but about Christ himself. Remember what Jesus said to Thomas at the Last Supper, when Thomas said to Jesus, "We do not know where you're going, Master. How can we know the way?" And remember, Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life." Being a follower of the way means being a follower of Jesus. Today, I invite you to reflect on the meaning of life as a journey and a constant quest for the way to our true destination. That destination was called the Promised Land for Israel. The book of Exodus tells us how these runaway slaves who escaped from Egypt had to find a way to the land that was promised to them by God. From Egypt to Promised Land. They had to cross over many obstacles along the journey. Nung bata pa ako, tuwing Holy Week, napapanood ko yung pelikula ni Cecil B. DeMille, Exodus. At yung pinaka-exciting na eksena doon sa pelikula was when the Israelites were pursued by the Egyptian taskmasters, and at some point, na-corner sila. They got cornered by the shore of the Red Sea at wala na silang matakbuhan. And how the Lord instructed Moses to strike the water so that he could make a highway for them between two walls of water on either side of the Red Sea. The scene reminds me of the well-known charismatic song, and I'm sure you're familiar with it, "God will make a way." Many times sa buhay natin, we will also find ourselves in similar situations when we feel like we are cornered and there is no way out. Sabi nung kanta, God will make a way when there seems to be no way. He works in ways we cannot see. He will make a way for us. Take note what the song says. Hindi niya sinabing, God will find a way. Rather, it says, God will make a way. We might be too preoccupied about finding a way, only to realize that what God is teaching us to do is to make a way. Ito yung sinasabi ng isang Spanish poet, Antonio Machado, in one of his poems that also became a song. Caminante no hay camino, se hace camino al andar. Sa English, when you find no way while you're traveling, you can make a way by walking on. Sa Tagalog, simpleng Tagalog, kapag walang daan, edi gumawa ng daan. Sa mismong paglalakbay, gumagawa ka ng daan. Sometimes, of course, it can be a choice between the paved road and a grassy trail. You remember the punchline nung famous poem of Robert Frost? He said, I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the road less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. The point at which the way is branching out between the regular path and the road not taken, ang tawag dito sa Tagalog, sangandaan. In English, crossroad. And times like this pandemic will lead us to the many crossroads ahead of us. Parating magsasanga ang daan. And our tendency is to stick to the familiar path. For all you know, the Lord is leading us to new and better ways. New and better ways that are waiting to be made, not found. When there is no way, you make a way. This is what the disciples had to learn from Jesus while they were on the way to Jerusalem. Ay nako, there was Peter. He was trying to block the way. And there was James and his brother John, who were pursuing the way of power and lording it over the others. Jesus had to patiently teach them how to think out of the box. And it took time before he managed to make them understand his way. Sabi niya, whoever wishes to come after me must deny himself, take up his cross, and follow me. At sabi din niya, whoever wishes to be great among you must be your servant. St. John of the Cross said it beautifully also in his poem on the ascent of Mount Carmel. Ang sabi niya sa Kastila, para llegar al todo, hay que pasar por el camino de la nada. In English, to arrive at everything, one has to pass through the way of nothingness. At ito rin yung sinasabi ni Jesus sa ating ebanghelyo ngayon. Unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink His blood, you do not have life within you. Meaning, He gives life by giving up His life. Let me repeat that. He gives life by giving up His life. He is like the candle that endures burning in order to give lights. In a capitalistic society, primary value ang profits. And people would usually not want to get involved in anything unless sure sila na meron silang mapapakinabangan o mapapala if they will gain anything from it. Somebody asked me that question a long, long time ago. Noong nagsisimula pa lang ako sa pagpapari, tinanong ako, when I decided to give myself to the service of the church in the priesthood, sabi niya, what will you gain from being a priest? Ang dami mong pwedeng magawa sa buhay mo. Pare, anong mapapala mo dyan? And you may have encountered that Facebook post about a man who was being ridiculed by his friend for spending too much time praying. Nung sabi sa kanyang kaibigan, what do you gain from wasting all your time praying? And the man said, well, sa totoo lang, siguro wala. Maybe nothing. Nothing that might be of value to you. But let me tell you instead what I have lost since I learned to pray in my life. I have lost my fears and anxieties. I have lost my tendencies to be arrogant, insecure, envious, and self-centered. Wow! Wouldn't you consider that kind of loss a gain? Ang tawag ni St. Paul dito is the way of kenosis, meaning learning to empty oneself in order to make space for God in our lives.